Hey guys, welcome back to the Falkenblick Skills Center, where we build confidence with skills and we build those skills through training. Today I want to show you a simple but effective way to find your location on a map without any electronic devices. This technique has been used by navigators for decades, long before GPS. The concept is straightforward, but there are a few key steps you need to get right to ensure an accurate result. All you need is a topographic map, a compass, and line of sight to at least 2 identifiable landmarks that you can locate on your map. There are a few exceptions where only 1 landmark is needed. This is called a 1-point resection, and we'll come back to that in a few minutes. Once you've identified 2 landmarks, you have everything you need to perform what's known in the land navigation world as a resection. If you've already participated in my basic land navigation course, then you have all the skills you need to perform this task. And if not, there's a link in the description that you can use to find those classes if you're interested. Step 1 is to locate at least 2 identifiable landmarks on your map that you also have a clear line of sight to. As I look around, I can clearly see an antenna tower here, and there's also a church steeple over here. Let's take a look at the map now and see if we can locate those 2 landmarks on it. A quick note here. If you truly have no idea where you are, then picking a tower or a church may not be the best landmarks to choose, since many towns have a church and a radio tower nearby. And if you happen to be using a map with a lot of small towns on it, it might be difficult to decide which one is the one you're looking at. So here's my advice. Choose landmarks that are not only identifiable, but also unique within your field of view. A radio tower in a small town may not be the best choice if your map shows several towns with similar towers, but a radio tower located on the top of a mountain could be fantastic if it's the only one around. Since I already know the town that I'm looking at, the radio tower and the church will work fine for this example. So let's locate this small town on our map and see if we can pinpoint those 2 landmarks. This symbol here represents the church, and over here I can see what the legend identifies as an antenna. If the landmarks that you selected are not annotated on your map, try looking around on the map to see if there is any clearly marked structure or significant terrain that you can identify in the actual landscape. If you don't have line of sight with 2 or more features that you can also identify on your map, then this method of self-location might not be the best for your situation. There are other methods that may be better suited, and I'll be covering some of those in future videos. The next step is to shoot an azimuth to each one of the landmarks. When I align my compass on the antenna tower, I get somewhere around 14 to 15 degrees. And when I line up on the church steeple, I'm getting somewhere around 034 to 035 degrees. Now is the time to consider magnetic declination. If you shot these azimuths with a compass that has already been calibrated for the magnetic to grid declination in the area where you are, then you can simply move on to the plotting step. If, however, you're using a compass that hasn't been adjusted for the local magnetic declination or can't be adjusted, then you'll need to convert your magnetic azimuths to grid azimuths before plotting them. Adjusting for magnetic declination can be tricky if you're not practiced at it. I've already published a detailed video on magnetic declination and how to adjust for it, so I won't be reteaching that now. You can find a link to that specific video in the description if you're interested in learning more. The farther your declination is from 0, the more important it becomes to properly account for it. A 2-degree error might be insignificant for a quick resection, but a 30 to 40 degree error will completely misplace your back azimuths and your resection will fail. Take the time to check the declination diagram on your map to determine whether or not there is significant declination that you need to adjust for. In my area, the grid to magnetic angle is 3.8 degrees east, which I round to 4 degrees. And to convert my magnetic azimuths to grid azimuths, I add 4 degrees to each magnetic reading. So if I now add 4 degrees of declination to the 14-degree magnetic azimuth I shot to the antenna tower, I get 018 degrees grid. And for the church, I do the same. 034 degree magnetic plus 4 degrees of declination equals 038 degrees grid. Okay, now we know the grid azimuths from our location to each landmark, but since we don't know our location, we can't draw those lines directly. What we can do, however, is draw the opposite direction from each known landmark back to us. This is called the back azimuth, and the next step is to calculate them. Remember that a back azimuth is just the opposite direction of the original azimuth. If your original azimuth is less than 180 degrees, then add 180 degrees to get the back azimuth. If it's 180 degrees or more, then subtract 180 degrees to get the back azimuth. 018 degrees is less than 180, so I'll add 180, and I come up with 198 for the back azimuth from the tower. And 038 is also less than 180, so I'll again add 180, and I get 218 degrees for the back azimuth from the church. Once you have the back azimuths calculated, you can draw them on your map. Start from the appropriate landmark, and using a map plotter, draw the corresponding back azimuth across your map. Let's begin with the antenna tower. From the tower, I need to draw an azimuth of 198 degrees. Again, if you want more information about how to draw accurate azimuths on your map, check out the link in the description to my basic land navigation course. Sometimes this single azimuth is all you need, since you know your location must lie somewhere along that line. If you happen to be standing directly on or next to a linear terrain feature that you can identify on your map, you may very well be able to pinpoint your location without having to locate another landmark at all. For example, if you're standing at this pipeline, but you're not sure exactly where, you can pinpoint your location by simply drawing a single back azimuth from this mountain peak. This will work with any mapped linear terrain feature: rivers, roads, railroads, ridge lines, power lines, canals, and similar linear features all allow you to perform what's known as a one-point resection. Now back to our example. Let's draw the second back azimuth from the church at 218 degrees. Where these two lines intersect is a very close estimate of your location, which can be used along with terrain association to further refine the precision of your location if needed. It's worth mentioning that this process is only as accurate as the measurements that you take. Errors will creep in at every step along the way. If your initial azimuths are bad, or you forget to account for declination, or your plotting is off, then you could wind up with a solution that makes your situation worse. I'll leave you with these two tips. First, if you can locate 3 landmarks, then use all 3. Because with 3 landmarks, you'll likely find that they don't all cross in one perfect spot. They will often look like this, which usually defines your location to somewhere within this triangle. The smaller that the triangle is, the greater your confidence can be in your estimated position. And secondly, whenever possible, choose landmarks that are separated from one another by as close to 90 degrees as possible, because as the azimuths become closer and closer to parallel, even the tiniest measurement or plotting errors will produce large errors in your estimated position. If this kind of material interests you, consider subscribing to the channel and ring the bell so that you will always know when I've published something new. The great thing about resection is you can practice it from almost anywhere. If you have a topo of the area where your house is, you might even be able to practice it without even leaving your home. I really recommend you drive or hike to an elevated area with good views where you can practice using different landmarks. And remember, it's this kind of training that will help you to build the skills you're going to need to have the confidence when it matters. Thanks again, everyone, and I'll see you in the next one.